One advantage of having a father with a full head of white, slick back hair is that his head sticks out boldly in every crowd and is very easy to find. He's right there, if anyone was wondering. This same boldness is characteristic not only of Bill Bellet's head rug, as my mother affectionately refers to it, but also of his general demeanor. When my dad was only 12 years old, his father died, and for this reason, my dad has done almost everything of his own accord and with confidence, especially in terms of fathering. One thing I've admired most in observing my father throughout my growing up is his ability to live in the moment and make small actions and moments significant. My dad and I have fostered a strong relationship, not through huge father-son events put on by various organizations, but through normal everyday interaction. Sitting on my bed, offering every possible annoyance to wake me up in the morning, sending occasional texts of the nature of a profane second grader throughout the day, being at the table every night for dinner, probing into the affairs of my school day with relentless interrogation, and asking me for help on various projects throughout the house are just a few examples of how my dad has managed to stay in touch with me, even amid busy schoolwork and work schedules. A father of 9 kids, 8 of whom are boys, my dad has learned that fathering young men through huge, grandiose events where emotional realizations occur are neither effective nor practical. Instead, my dad recognizes that the smallest gestures of care are what promote the firmest bonds. Juggling the raising of 9 kids, working as a psychologist, and taking care of the duties that come with living in general is obviously no simple feat. And a lot of the time, showing love through continuous hours spent together is just not realistic. Yet my father's still been able to grow close to 8 boys and 1 girl and have individual relationships with each of us. My dad often tells me to live my life in the moment and says letting homework or one bad interaction take over my day or life won't really make me happy. And he himself takes this approach in parenting and ensures that, no matter how much work is on his desk, he'll make time to stop by our rooms or call to check in on anyone out of the house. Because of his insistence on short but meaningful interactions, he not only shows 9 children his love, but also shows them how to live happily despite obligations. I've found myself sometimes even looking forward to changing out radiators, blowing leaves, and backing up computers on Saturday mornings, just because I know it's building something more than doing homework or sleeping in late ever could. Although occasional heart-to-heart conversations will slip in there every now and then, our relationship is mainly built on the subtler occurrences in life, like the mutual satisfaction and physical exertion, the mutual thrill of knowing you're breaking the law even though it's something petty, or the mutual recognition of the degree to which someone is full of it. All things which male relationships should be built on. Most of us already have the potential to make our relationships meaningful without doing anything different, except just recognizing that there is love present. No matter how many distractions, be it our immaturity or selfishness, obscure the obvious goodness of a great relationship with our dads.
Great. Okay. So my dad didn't know I was speaking today, and I think he's still surprised. He just found out, I'm pretty sure. But Mr. Joya asked us 5 seniors to speak in January, and when he asked me to speak, I was really excited because my dad's really not huge in the NBA community, but I thought it was really an honor that Mr. Joya would select me to speak. But then I looked at the other names on the list, and then I got really nervous because the other guys, like Sam Bellet, his dad has been here for a while, and like he said, he has 8 sons, so he'll be here for a little bit more time. Throck's dad, I think most of us know, stole the 2014 sign at the championship game. And Cole and his dad led the team to the championship game to win, and Andrew Conwell's dad was in the NFL. And I don't know, the thing that my dad, I guess, is most notable for is always showing up and not saying much at all, even when someone asks him a question. So here we have it. Okay, so here's a little bit about my dad. He's from St. Thomas in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and that's different from the hospital. I've had to tell a bunch of people that the island is below Florida in the Gulf of Mexico. Okay, and so living on an island, you know, it's not really that fast-paced, so he's always really relaxed, and this explains why when he speaks, sometimes you can't really understand because of his accent. But I know in St. Thomas, he really enjoys it there. And when he takes me down there sometimes, I love getting to see his face light up from the usual straight face that he has that looks somewhat like this all the time. All right, so my dad, like I said, we don't have a lot of exciting stories, but there is something that I would like to say that would make all of us probably appreciate our dads a little more. Back when I was in middle school, like in 4th grade, my dad moved to Atlanta, and he was there for a year because he and my mom didn't get along for a little while. But I got to visit him like every other weekend, and it was great because there's a lot of cool things in Atlanta. Like you got the World of Coke, and I think some of the seniors remember the Mad Mad World and Whirly Ball. Yeah, that was fun. So when I was down there, when I visited, he put me in karate, martial arts. I played baseball. We went to Braves games, and I really got to spend some quality time with them away from here. But whenever I came back, I always missed him a lot. And within a year, like I said before, he ended up moving back to Tennessee because he couldn't get enough of this beautiful face on a daily basis. So when he moved back, I really felt like our relationship grew like exponentially because he was able to see me every day, ask me questions, and I would reluctantly answer like about how's your day, the worst question in the world. But yeah, I got to enjoy some trips with him. Like I said, we go to St. Thomas every so often. We go on fishing trips, and I get to go visit his family around the Southeast all the time. I don't know, my dad, I really love him because he's always there for me, no matter what. Like if I call him, he'll answer right away. And if he calls and I don't want to answer, he'll call again and leave a voicemail and text me saying, "Call me, son." And I don't know, I really appreciate these things, even though he may think I am ignoring him, which I kind of am sometimes. But I really appreciate everything he does for me on a daily basis, even though I may not always say that. For instance, before I could drive, I live in Murfreesboro, in case some of you didn't know, and that's like an hour away. And my dad lives in Antioch, so every day before I could drive, he used to wake up at like 4 in the morning, drive to Murfreesboro, poke me on the face, and hit me until I woke up. He'd make breakfast for me, and then drive me all the way to MBA, and then go back home to get like 20 minutes of sleep before he went off to work again. And then he'd come and pick me up right after school, take me home and make sure I ate, because, you know, with all the work here, it's kind of hard to eat sometimes and get sleep. But He did all of that despite having to work tirelessly every single day. And I'm really glad that I can drive now, because he'd probably be sleeping right now if I couldn't drive and if he still had to pick me up every morning. So I think, in closing, I want him to come up here so we can do a little demonstration for you. So Dad, please walk up here. So I want everyone else to stand up next to their fathers, please, quickly. And I want you to grab him on the shoulder, look him in the eyes, and say, "Daddy, I love you." And then give him a big, big old hug. Love you too. Thanks for hearing me out, guys.
Like Akeim, I tried to keep speaking tonight about my dad a secret, but since my dad works here, he knows more gossip than I do, and he's a lot of times more cool than I am. But all right, my dad, also publicly known as Coach U, is the greatest man I know. For the many that call him Papa U, he is very much a father figure. He's everything of that father figure in just the span of a 2-hour football practice. He's a motivator, a coach, an example, maybe even a doom bringer because of how he determines how much we run. He's definitely considered a disciplinarian, also a comedian, but most importantly, a supporter. He's everything on that field that he is at home, though. He is real with nothing held back. The intensity that he runs his practice is with the same intensity that he lives his life with. My teammates can attest to the many speeches and tangents that my dad has gone off on, with many countless country sayings. Some of my favorites include, "You're more nervous than a long-tailed cat in a room full of rocking chairs," and "That hole opened up like a sick sow." "Why are you staring at me like an old cow staring at a new gate?" And probably the most famous one is, "I was sick once, then I thought about it, I really wasn't." These speeches, though, were more than just tangents and funny sayings. They were life lessons that taught my teammates and I more about than just football, but how to be a true man and how to be a true man of character. My relationship with my dad is everything I could ask for. He's the greatest competitor around, and he never ceases to amaze me that he is good at literally every sport. From badminton to bowling to ping pong to basketball, he's incredible at them all. He's always told me that when I was about 3 years old and I'd be playing basketball on my little Tykes basketball goal, he would block my shot to "Kingdom Come," as he put it, and wave his finger in my face like Matumbo. And he never let me win because he can't stand to lose. He still says to this day, randomly, as we sit on the couch, he'll just turn to me and say, "Cole, if you and me were put in the octagon and I had my hands and wrists taped and one arm was tied behind my back, who would win in a fight?" And he's always fought me until I was about 13, and then he just makes the excuse that his glasses might break when I fight him. So he still thinks he's the undisputed champion, but because of discussions and battles like this, he's placed in me the irrevocable desire to win, and for that I'm thankful. I also want to encourage many of you today. I know that when I first came to have to share the NBA campus with my dad, I was a little hesitant to acknowledge that I knew him as I passed by. It was hard to share the same grounds as a new freshman with my dad, a dad who was known, again, for his embarrassing country sayings, as I tried to make new friends as a freshman. All credit to my dad, though. He acted as though nothing happened. He treated me as his son on campus, but still embarrassed me enough to keep me humble and let me know he was there. As I became more confident of who I was on campus, I began to welcome my dad's presence, and now I can't imagine high school without him. And even now, I ride with him to school some days as a senior. Now, I know most of you in here don't have a dad with you on campus, but again, I want to encourage you. I want to encourage you to be confident in yourself, because once you let yourself be embarrassed occasionally and to allow yourself to be open in your relationship with your father, you become closer than ever before. My father is a true disciple of Christ, and he's brought me and my sisters to follow up God with the same passion he does. Out of all the things that he's done, I'm most happy that he has taken the time to instill in me the same values that he lives his life with. Dutifully, he has taught me how to live a life with purpose and meaning through these values, not through disciplinary actions, but with love. This aspect of his is one of the most incredible parts of my dad. He may not seem like the most lovable guy around when I run over to him and get to play on Friday night. And yes, I run over to him every play. And to many of you who have asked me about this, get over it, because he's not going to change, because that's who he is. And he may not seem like the most lovable person when he's turned into James Throckmorton, when he's been told not to jump off sides in the huddle, and in that same play, he jumps off sides as he commits a false start, and or as we call it, to hold your water. And but every player knows that my dad loves him because of what he tells us. He says, "Men, no matter what, win or lose, I'm going to love every single one of you after this football game." And he ends every game with a prayer about the family our football team is and about how much he loves us. There's nothing greater than to know as a son, than to know that my dad is proud of me and loves me, not because of what I've done, but because of who I am. And that is just simply being his son. To know that is powerful and gives me security. And for it, again, I'm forever thankful. And Dad, slowly over time, and to the occasional dismay of my mom, and even sometimes myself, I've realized I've become more like you every day of my life. But there's no other person that I'd like to become more. You've always told me that you love me no matter what, and that's just because I'm yours. And well, I just want to say that I love you for that reason too, and that's because you're mine.
First off, I'd like to say I also didn't tell my dad about this, and got quite a shock, didn't you? Yeah? All right. Hello, everyone. My name is James Throckmorton. My father is Chip Throckmorton, but many of you know him as Papa Throck. My father is a very unique individual. Not many fathers have come into their son's room at 3 in the morning asking them to try their new soup recipe. Seriously, this has happened a lot. And I mean, it's not like I'm going to pass up on good soup. It's really good. So we just end up eating soup at like 3 in the morning. It's pretty fun. My father's a lawyer, pretty sure. To be honest, I don't really know what he does. I've tagged along with him on many a so-called adventure and met some interesting clients, I guess is what you call them, ranging from prominent businessmen to some guy named Tickle, who hunts giant turtles for a living. So, either my dad is a lawyer or about to start a new version of Swamp People. During this past football season, my father was practically famous among the players and their families. As the appointed grill master of the parents' tailgate, he treated all the parents and players to some of the best steaks in the world. Now, I have to say that, or else he'll stop cooking, like, entirely. He's always been able to motivate me with food, so I'm kind of fat, so that really helps. During one game this season, we were, including myself, unfortunately not playing very well at the start, and my father started shouting from the stands, and yes, I could distinctly hear his voice out of the thousands of other people there. And he started shouting that if I didn't start playing better, he would not cook that 20-ounce ribeye that was sitting in our fridge. We ended up winning the game by 2 touchdowns. My father was honestly just as into the football season as I was. The best example of this was during the state championship game. As you all know, the game came down to the wire, but my father had faith we would win. The entire game, he was eyeing that giant 2014 championship sign that Innsworth had rolled out. And the minute he saw it, he looked at it and thought to himself, I'm going to steal that. He had put on a plain green jacket to cover up all of his NBA attire and started making his way towards the Innsworth sign right before the final kick. The second that we won, he ran over to the sign and started to take it down. Some of the cheerleaders for Innsworth asked him what he was doing, and he responded with, "Oh, don't worry, they told me to take it down." So the cheerleaders start helping him. And at this point, one of the brighter Innsworth students, there are some, I know, yells out, "Hey, I think he's stealing the sign." And at this point, he just starts running. He just bolts back to the NBA sideline, dives into the crowd of people, and unrolls the giant sign for all to see. It was pretty cool. But seriously, Dad, you are a lawyer, and you realize how illegal that was, right? All right. All of this aside, my father is a great man. He's always been there for me when times are tough, and I can talk to him about anything. He doesn't always lead by example, but he usually just says, "Son, never do this," and then does something really ridiculous. Although we have a great relationship, my father and I couldn't be more different. I'm usually kind of quiet and keep to myself, and he just yells at the top of his lungs and is the life at a party, no matter how bad the party is. What I'm trying to say is that you and your father don't have to have the same interests, the same tastes, or even the same personality. You just have to be there for one another. Dad, you're the greatest man I've ever met and the greatest man I will ever know. I love you.
All right, hey, I'm Major Conwell. If you don't know my dad, you probably noticed him walking around. He usually has that effect when he enters a room, especially at the Y, because we'll just be at the Y. I might just be, you know, chilling out, sitting on the bench, puts on some freakish amount of weight, and I look, and there's about 6 people that just stop, and they look over, and they're like, nah, he's not about to do that. And then he rips out like 6, and they're just like, that's a freak. But, I mean, I didn't come here to talk about his freakish strength, but came here to talk about me and my dad. You know, my dad has a pretty cool story. He's like part of the 1% of people in this population that got to play pro football. And during his career, there were a ton of people, told me wasn't big enough, wasn't tall enough, couldn't do it, but he ended up playing 11 years in the NFL, and even after an excruciating knee injury, doctors told me he might not be able to walk again. And he has that cool story and all this motivation and overcoming all this stuff, but what I saw when he'd take me to locker rooms with legends like Drew Brees or Kurt Warner or Marshall Faulk, I mean, these guys are like the team. I mean, not like he was the team too, but I mean, when people would ask, who's your favorite player? A lot of kids would be like, my dad, but, I was like, Marshall Faulk, he's the man. But what really hit me was how even when he was playing and after he retired, all those guys respected him for what he gave them. I mean, it was just amazing how these guys, they have all this fame and, you know, they're so great at what they do, but they really saw my dad as a mentor to them. And it was cool to see how much they respected him, even though he wasn't on ESPN every night and didn't have millions of views on YouTube for his insane play. And, you know, it just really made me think that I wanted to be like him. I mean, I saw that respect from all these great people, and I just wanted I wanted people to be influenced by my life, and I know that that's something that he's done for me. He's given me the ability to just want to touch everyone, no matter how skillful they are at a sport or if they debate or anything. I just want to, you know, try and be everyone's friend, and that's what he's always been to me and to a lot of other people. But, you know, a lot of people would think it was cool having a dad, you know, pro sports, and it is. I mean, he's accomplished a ton, a Super Bowl, national championship in college. I mean, all this great stuff, but, I mean, it's kind of hard. I mean, there's a lot of people who, when they grow up, they want to be better, you know, better than their dad. They want to be able to beat him up, but, I mean, I'm not ever going to be able to bench press 500 pounds, and I'm not going to be 6'2", and, you know, 260. I mean, when he was in 8th grade, he was 6'2", could dunk a basketball. When I was in 8th grade, I was like 5'5", and pretty much skin and bones. So, I mean, I kind of realized we weren't really the same people, and we weren't going to be on the same path, and I think that it was kind of hard because I wanted to be dad, you know, when I was younger. I wanted to live his life. I wanted to play football. I wanted to go to the University of Washington. I wanted to follow in his footsteps, but I realized that just wasn't me. I played football in middle school, and it just didn't work out. I just didn't like it. And I decided that I wanted to play soccer, and it was kind of scary because there were a lot of people, and people still kind of ask me this to this day, like, I mean, come on. And I was kind of scared too when I first decided, you know, I'm going to do something different. But I realized that he just wants me to do what I love. He doesn't care if I debate or play lacrosse or, you know, want to be a doctor or a lawyer. He just wants me to do what I love, and he's happy with me being his son and that we just have a good relationship. And, you know, it's kind of hard. I mean, we have different interests. He likes to watch football. I like to watch soccer. I don't really like to watch football, sadly. But I think that it's really important that we found something that we both enjoy, and interestingly enough, that was training. And I mean, I didn't really have to look far for a trainer. I mean, he's kind of a freak, but I think that it's really enhanced our relationship because something as simple as the 10-minute drive to the YMCA, you know, there and back, it gives us enough time to just talk about life and, you know, hardships, or, you know, just allows him to be a mentor to me and for me to ask him questions. And I mean, it might be short, but it's a good time to just get to know about each other's lives and the problems that I'm going through, or he's going through even. And I think that I hope that all of you find something that you and your dad can, you know, enjoy together, and it can really build your relationship. And I think that even though me and my dad are so different, we still get along so well, and he never really had to be the status quo guy, didn't have to be the big shot, didn't have to, you know, have nice cars, have a big house. He just loved his family, loved his wife, loved his kids, and I respect him for that. And my dad's my best friend. I'm glad that I can somehow walk in his footsteps and attend the University of Washington next year. And I can't really imagine not seeing him around every day like I can now. But I love him, and thank you.